everybody. My name is Melissa Gale, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of Sonova Associates. We are so excited to have you all here with us today for our live stream event, The Coaching Mindset. So this is part of our innovation education series with key industry partners, and I want to personally thank Jessica Thornton on our call today from Mead Johnson Nutrition, who is supporting today's event. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks, Jessica. So today's event will be about 20 minutes in length, and at Sonova, we love giving gifts to our nurse leaders. So today we will be giving away a free tuition to either our 2026 Perinatal Leadership Forum or our 2027 NICU Leadership Forum to a nurse leader who is in attendance. So stay tuned. That will be at the end of our call today. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Taryn Hill and Sonova Clinical Consultant Janet Wirt to introduce themselves and uncover some strategies for nurse leaders to build stronger, more resilient teams. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm very happy to be here. I get the joy and honor to be speaking about one of my favorite topics, and it is coaching and how, as clinicians, we can have a coaching mindset. I know this topic is not new for a lot of you, but I'm really hoping at the end of this brief 20-minute opportunity, you'll walk away with really some practical tips and maybe a little less jaded by it, because I know at times I have been skeptical about the process of coaching. So you are not alone in that. My background is that for the past 10 years, I've been a newborn hospitalist and pediatric hospitalist at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. I've helped build the pediatric residency coaching program. So I have helped on the physician side of developing coaching, as well as really cultivating that culture and getting buy-in. So that is where my experience comes from. And hopefully today we can navigate ways that will apply to the nursing leadership. So we are ready to get started with some questions.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Hill. I'm Janet Wirt. I'm the Sonova Clinical Consultant, and I just come with gratitude and thankfulness for this topic and the research that you've been doing around a coaching mindset that more and more, as well, I'll just say, in a compassionate profession, we are fixers. We want to go in and fix things, right? And there's more and more evidence coming out, I understand, about this coaching mindset and how really it can help develop clinical skills, strengthen engagement and retention. So can you share with us just a little bit about what this coaching mindset is about and some initial coaching tools that can help support the nurse leaders?
Absolutely. And I speak from a place where I am a recovering fixer and probably still am a fixer mindset with my children. So I am not here as the expert. Yes, I've studied it, but I am on my own journey of that. So, for the past 10 years of coaching residents, well, I should say training residents, I was trained with if somebody's sick or a patient is deteriorating, or if you don't know how to put in this order, I quickly came to the rescue. And it really is an act of making us feel worthy and useful, when in itself, it is useful and it is helpful and it can save the patient. It honestly is just kind of helping us feel good as individuals. And so the reason why coaching is really imperative, or putting on the coaching mindset, is that you are making your staff less dependent on you. If we continue to steal that critical thinking from our new learners and even like current learners, then more of those situations will be, fall on us as leaders. And those are the things that really do fuel burnout, because if that person, Janet, is absent on that shift, then who knows what flames will come, right? And once again, I know a lot of this may sound cheesy, but there's a huge growing body of evidence that this practice of not being the fixer, meaning not being the teller, is really building healthier work environments, and the retention is much higher. So it is real. And some, you ask like practical solutions. So the main art of coaching is mastering the pause. And so when you're intervening on a situation, whether it's a bad communication that went wrong with the family or a baby that got sick fast or a C-section that went wrong, it's mastering the pause and asking questions that foster curiosity. I listened to actually a great blog on this earlier this week is let me actually say I don't want to do an injustice of it, but there's tension in the transformation. And so you should feel the discomfort and like wanting to step in and wanting to fix. But having them have the struggle is honestly where the coaching mindset lives, as well as harnessing that growth mindset. And I know we all know what growth mindset is, and we've heard it so many times, but without a growth mindset, coaching really on both parties is hard to do. And so just some key things to keep in your practical toolbox would be mastering the pause, y'all. And this is my favorite. It is listening to understand, not to respond. I fail at that every day with my children, and I'm sure some of you do too, or with your spouses or partners. So really listening to understand, and not pause. Excuse me, not respond. Sorry about that. See?
Yes, the
So
pause, right?
more.
Yeah, the pause. And it really does kind of put you into that vulnerable place of, wait, what am I supposed to do? Right. I've used this
Yeah.
when I talk to families, right? To listen, hear them out, right? And I'll go at the end, I'll come back and I'll go, wait, where did I stop listening? Right. Where did I stop listening so that I can keep listening next time, right? And not start thinking about what I'm going to say next, right? So I would imagine that as you're in this coaching mindset, it starts to become a culture that you're like, oh, this is my culture. This is how I operate. How
Mhm.
then, as a leader, do you continue to grow that culture? That if it's just you, how do you continue to achieve the buy-in and really have that culture stick?
Absolutely. And this is something I'll be honest, I failed at in the beginning process of building a coaching program. A lot of us, when we hear the word coaching, we think of it as remediation. Hey, you're the struggling resident, or you're the one who scored the lowest on your boards. You need coaching. And so there's a visceral gut reaction to that. And fortunately, that is part of the past. It is emerging now that coaching is for everyone. That's the reality. We're on a journey for growth for all. And so we've got to educate our new staff, old staff, current staff that the coaching culture exists to help everyone, not to help those who are failing. So if you can preach that, if you can educate that from the very beginning. And one thing we were just talking about is from the physician side, you need to start talking about it in medical school. From the nursing side, you need to start talking about it in nursing school, because by the time you get clinical, in real life, it's kind of this like, what? Coaching? Yeah, I played sports. It's this old, you go back to these other terminologies and misunderstandings. So my biggest tip, and this was in the coaching culture blog #2 on Sonova, was that it should be started in onboarding. And so any new hire, along with all the other stuff that they have to go through with the EMR orientation, it should be simple, no more than an hour. But a very brief overview of what coaching is and really what I was talking about. It's asking questions. And by the way, this is peer to peer. It doesn't need to be top down having a coaching mindset. We help each other just like we go to our friends to seek help. So that's one of the biggest things that I didn't learn until 5 years into my coaching program, that my residents were like, this is a load of blank. I don't want coaching. It's viewed negatively. But then we transitioned it to be applying to everybody. Requires more bandwidth and staffing, yes, and that's its own kind of navigation. But yes, so is we introduced it at orientation And then the biggest thing too, my second recommendation for maintaining, sustaining the culture is I parallel it to RQI. So we don't sit and do CPR every 2 years like we used to, right? To get our PALS certification or ACLS. We now get those emails, or at least I do. I don't want to speak on behalf of other entities, but like I get a mean email every 3 months if I haven't gone and done my mannequin, right? The compressions and the ventilations. And so we host micro coaching sessions or workshops every month. And we use other resources. This doesn't need to be an uphill battle for nursing leaders. Is like share, there's definitely entities I use Stanford coaching program, but there's a host of resources out there. This book I read in the past week, it's called The Coaching Habit. Oh, it's blurring my face. It has just basic principles you can utilize about just basic coaching principles that can be frequently informed to staff. Because once again, it needs to be a part of the everyday language and like culture there. So those are my two
Right.
biggest tips.
Thank you. And I, as a nurse leader, it can feel overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? That you have this new culture and it's not new.
Yeah.
It feels new because it's a different mindset, right?
Hmm.
Than than what we're coming out of this recovered fixer stage, as you um
Right.
and and I would just say yes, that peer to peer does, it can be adverse, right? The word coaching can give a visceral reaction. However, you and I had spoken earlier about we have these are your colleagues, your professional colleagues
Yeah.
that you're working side by side with. You have
Yeah.
friends that you call up and go, let me run this by you, right?
Hmm.
Is that not a form of coaching in itself? So I would just say if you're in that leadership role where you're feeling overwhelmed, like how do I keep this momentum going, right?
Yeah.
What would you suggest when you're the leader trying to really nail this down and keep this momentum going forward? How do you keep that
Hmm.
going?
Absolutely. And so what I just spoke to is like really how you're introducing maybe a culture change. And now it's expanding, maintaining, celebrating. So I feel the greatest results we've had and data supported in the pediatric residency coaching was implementing peer coaching. And by the way, this does not have to be a monumental intervention. It sounds very fancy, a peer coaching program. No, it is literally a conversation with your peer buddy using coaching strategies. And for example, if you have a failed line placement with that nurse, it's doing a debrief just like you would do after a code, but it's micro. It's like what went well? How do we protect our confidence the next time? Or it's the clinical debriefing, or not the clinical debriefing. At the end of a really crappy shift, excuse me, when you see that nurse in tears, your colleague, your friend, sometimes I would say not sometimes, a lot of times there's the need to vent. I am a chronic venter. It is my therapy. We need that. I am not disregarding that. But if we can, as human beings and people we care for, if we can weave in more of those questions of like, hey, what are you leaving at the door? Or how is tomorrow going to be better? Once again, there may be moments or people that will not respond to that. I'm not sunshine and rainbows. I'm a half glass empty person speaking about a very half glass full topic. And so there's a bit of imposter syndrome right here. But I just want to encourage the expansion. The biggest thing to keep it going is peer coaching because you get way more buy-in than having it come from top down usually. And so having each other. The second thing, and once again, this is in my blog, but it's the celebration of coaching. And so, including it in the newsletters, shouting it out in a morning huddle. There can be sponsorships where you attend coaching conferences. Thankfully, coaching, is a buzzword. It's getting a lot of positive energy and support behind it. And so how can you go to your Uncle Sam or the big departments to get some financial resources to develop your staff. Because the reality is, it is money saving because we're reducing burnout and helping with retention. And so basically finding your own ways with your own unit and honestly your own creativity to celebrate coaching. I feel like an imposter when I wrote my blog ways to do like the Good Catch Award. Like I don't know the nursing language about how you guys celebrate each other. I want to give that creativity to you guys. I had just come up with that from what I see as a physician, but like the Daisy Award, like how good would it be to see a Daisy Award given to somebody as a coach? Maybe it's happened before, maybe not, but celebration.
That would be awesome. That really would be awesome. As a nurse leader and rolling out change,
Hmm.
there's always a diverse mix of reactions.
Yeah.
That are all in, and some that are like, absolutely not. That's a bunch of hooey, right? Um,
Hmm.
how then do you communicate this and work through those different adopters at different stages? And I'm just going to throw in the different generations as well.
Absolutely.
Um, and there's always been different generations throughout my career. I've been a nurse for 40 years, so I've dealt with a lot of different generations. And
Hmm.
how then do we continue to roll this out if we're not starting in the
Hmm.
nursing schools or the medical schools, starting
Yeah.
them really that this is a way, this is the way, this is the culture. How do we attack it now?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is like the one question, I wrote this question for this because I feel like every talk I've ever gotten is like, what do you do about the naysayers or the ones who are just like not for me? And I get it. They consume a lot of our energy as leaders. I used to be an eighth grade teacher when I was 22 to 25, and those eighth graders that didn't, the troublemakers, they consumed all of me. And then I completely ignored the ones who are my shining stars. And I failed in leveraging them, in honestly putting more of my energy and creativity towards them. And I think this is like a lesson that's been heard way too often, but in reality, it's important. And so for coaching, you're going to have the enthusiastic ones who take on to it. And so it's learning how to leverage them. So planting them as like the leaders of the peer coaches. That has been one of the biggest things that has been shown to be helpful. And I think it's important to validate the skepticism. And so it goes back to when you are going to intervene with the ones who don't believe in it, is using a lot of like motivational interviewing and, strategies backed by evidence of how you talk to people who, refuse medical care, right? And for their own legitimate reasons. I don't say that as like they shouldn't buy into it. I think there's a lot of reasons why they don't. And that goes back to your second question, which is the generational differences. I am an older millennial. And so I was trained by Gen X and baby boomers. And so a lot of the training I got was, you're autonomous, get through it, 24 to 36-hour shifts, make it happen. If you're doing something wrong, guess what? I'm going to tell you about it right now. And then when I came into residency and the newer, younger ones were getting trained, I had a hard time relating to them. They wanted more wellness. And I was like, wellness? Were you kidding me? You want to be coached? No, no, I'm going to tell you what you just did wrong, and you're going to be thankful I'm telling you what you did wrong. And so I think there is value in honoring all the generational differences. It's who we are. It's what built us. But there are, once again, evidence-based strategies of how to coach each generation. And so I think with the Gen Z, it's being able to have more frequent conversations with them. They want feedback more often. And so being able to honor that. And then with the older generations, it's prioritizing and also complementing their autonomous nature and once again celebrating how we're diverse learners. And I love what you said. We can't stereotype them all because we'll have young ones who are old souls. And so it's truly a spectrum of like the generational differences within a generation. So
Yeah, agreed. It is a challenge, right? But I love all of it. I think I kind of have operated from a coaching mindset for a while. So thank you for this information. I appreciate your passion toward it. And I see Melissa's back on and Jessica.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hill and Janet. I could listen to you two all day. I'm sure you could go on and on and on. You're both so passionate about this topic, but we do have a scholarship to award. Before we do that, I just want to let everybody know that Kim Fresh from our Sonova team put in some links in the chat. And those are for two of the blogs that Dr. Hill has written on our Sonova website for Mead Johnson. And there'll be a third one coming out soon, correct? Yes. So please read those. There's great citations in there as well if you're interested in learning more, and just stay tuned because there will be a third installment of that as well. So, okay. So Sonova will be providing a scholarship to either the Perinatal Leadership Forum coming up in November or the NICU Leadership Forum next April. So Jessica, can you pick a number between 1 and 104?
I'm going to go with 23.
23. So that would be, let me look in my list here. Brenda Hahn. Brenda, are you on? If so, give us a chat. Let us know that you're still here. And then we will reach out to you with information on your scholarship and how to get registered. Oh, you're still here. Wonderful. Well, congratulations, Brenda. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This will be uploaded to Sonova's Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can share this information with your teams as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Hill and Janet and Jessica Thornton and the Mead Johnson team. We really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.